today we are sharing a dashboard on fatal and non-fatal overdoses as part of the 90-day fentanyl emergency response. We at the Health Department work together with Portland Fire and Rescue and the Portland Bureau of Emergency Communications to create this dashboard with 5 sources of data on fatal and non-fatal opioid overdose. The fentanyl crisis is affecting our whole community. That means that we need to have data and information available to the community as we all find ways to work through the crisis. This dashboard is a way to provide that data on overdose that's as up to date as possible. These data are so recent that they will change. That's a feature of this dashboard. The data will be added over time, and in particular, deaths that are suspected to be due to fentanyl will be confirmed. So those numbers are very dynamic by nature. We were able to make this dashboard in a multi-agency way because of the 90-day fentanyl emergency declaration. But I do want to emphasize that within each of our agencies, the data infrastructure for this dashboard has been in development for years. So although this dashboard appears to have come about quickly, it's built on much longer term analytic work. The overdose data in this dashboard are sensitive. So it's very important to us to make sure that the identities of the individuals represented here are protected. That's a very high priority. So for this reason, at this time, it's not possible to break these data down by age, gender, or race and ethnicity. Our team is hoping to provide analyses on these demographic factors in a way that protects identities in the near future. Let me share my screen and I'll walk through the dashboard, and then I would be happy to answer questions. So just give me a moment. Okay. Can someone confirm that you are seeing my screen?
We are seeing it, Emily.
Thanks so much. So what we have here is our dashboard with 5 sources of information. We start off with an introduction to the purpose of the dashboard and how to think about it. So these data give us information on overdose trends, and each piece of information gives a different way of looking at the way overdoses are occurring and how they're being responded to. An important note that's shared on this page is that these dashboards, they can't be added together. The numbers can't be added together. Each dashboard is a different set of data, but some of it overlaps. So for example, we have data from 911 calls. Someone might call 911 to report an overdose. An ambulance might take them to an emergency department. That means that that overdose could show up in three sources of the data. The flip side of that is that not all overdoses are included in the data. So if someone overdoses and a bystander administers naloxone without calling for medical help, there would not be any record of that overdose. Additionally, these data are very recent. So as I mentioned, the most recent months are not finalized yet. I will show what this looks like when we get to some of the data sources, but the data will be added over time. We plan to update this dashboard every week. We also intend to update the functionality and the text that describes the data over time as we gather more data, as we gather more insights, so that we can make sure that we are presenting information as accurately as possible. So this navigator helps us go to the next page. And the next page here is information on each of the data sources. So you can see each of the data sources here. And if you hover over the information icon, it lets you know what the data source tells us. I'll go through each data source in more detail when we get to the pages, but I want to show how that works. So it gives a little bit of an explanation of what we have. And then what you can do here to navigate is you can click on the icon, the logo of the agency that's providing the information, or we have tabs across the top that you can use to go to the information that you're looking for. So let's go to Multnomah County, this is the medical examiner office data. This page shows medical examiner data on deaths due to overdose. At the top here, we have an explanation of what the data are showing us, where they come from. And for this page in particular, we have both confirmed and suspected deaths due to overdose. So I want to emphasize what that means. Confirmed overdose death means that there is confirmation after investigation from the medical examiner's office that drugs directly caused or contributed to death. What we have is data on any drug, but there's also a filter that can help us go specifically to fentanyl, where fentanyl was confirmed. We also have suspected deaths here. This is where a medical investigator suspects that drugs were involved as a contributory factor to the death. And we have a specific, we're able to specify whether or not the investigator suspected that it was fentanyl. So let's look at what that looks like and what you can do here. We have a filter for year, so you can choose 2022, 2023, 2024. We have filters for month, and then we have the filter for fentanyl specific. And let's do that. So we'll take off all the ones that are not confirmed to be fentanyl specific. And we're looking now only at fentanyl specific deaths. You can see the time lag here for confirmation of deaths. Confirmation through the medical examiner's office. We still have some suspected deaths back in September 2023. As those are finalized, they turn to blue. If they end up not being confirmed, then they will be removed from these data and they would not be seen here anymore. But they would be potentially considered in the other category if they were not fentanyl specific, but a different kind of overdose. So you can see as we get to more recent months, we have higher proportions of suspected compared to confirmed. And what we have here at the in 2024 is it appears to be a decline in the number of overdose fatalities in general. This is, there may be a decline occurring, but there also may be a delay in the investigations being recorded. So as we get out further, we'll have a better sense of what this trend looks like. And particularly March is not over yet, so we do not have complete data for March. There is a little bit of technical information here at the bottom that gets into more of the details about how these are classified and where these numbers come from. Let me go to the next tab. This is emergency department data. This is for emergency departments and urgent care. These are opioid overdose visits recorded in medical notes. This has the same explanation across the top. What is this? Where did the data come from? And instead of confirmed and suspected, which we don't have for this data source, it lets us know what does this tell us. We're able to filter by year and month for these data. So we're able to look at time trends. Again, we have this, the current month is incomplete, but that allows us to give as much data as possible here. And we have a map that is incredibly zoomed out at the moment. So let me zoom in so we can take a look at it. So this map is by zip codes. This shows us the visits by the zip code of the residence of the person who attended the patient who attended the medical visit. So we can see the numbers, and we're able, if you apply the filters up here, you're able to see those numbers by month and by year. I want to let you know though that any stratification in these maps that brings us to a number that's below 5 is going to be suppressed for identifiability reasons. So anytime it goes below 5, if you select, for example, one particular month and a particular zip code, there may have only been one opioid related visit at that time, and the number will just say less than 5. Let's look at calls for service. So these are calls for service through the Bureau of Emergency Communications, which manages 911. In these calls for service, this is where an ambulance, fire, police, or other first responder went to check on medical needs. So we have information here on medical incidents that were responded to through the Bureau of Emergency Communications. And we have specific information here on drug incidents and then fentanyl incidents. This is fentanyl specific only based on information from the caller. So when a caller lets the 911 operator know that they believe that this was a fentanyl related incident, that's recorded and that information is provided here. It's possible that the caller thought it was fentanyl related and it was not. And it's also possible that the caller did not think something was fentanyl related and it turned out that it was. So it's important to keep that in mind, but that gives a sense of the type of information that's coming in through 911 on fentanyl related incidents. And here we have 2023 data and 2024 data. Let's look at our ambulance data. Again, we have this explanation at the top. What is this? Where does it come from? And what does it tell us? We're able to see year and month filters. Again, we have that current month that looks pretty low, but we will want to wait until we have final data in there to make an ascertainment of what the trend looks like. And we again have a zip code map here with the numbers of responses. These are responses to opioid overdoses specifically. So these are responses where naloxone was administered. And so that information is also here by the zip code of the location of the response. And finally, our last tab here is Portland Fire and Rescue, and this has to do with their opioid-related incidents and overdose responses. And here we are able to look at year and month. And we have gray shading here on this graph to show that the data are not finalized in the last month, and some technical information on the bottom.